Good afternoon. I'm here to speak about the alternative assessments and evaluation with tests. This new assessment, the alternative assessment, are totally different to the traditional forms that we are used to. They are children-centered better than teacher-centered. That means that the children get involved in their own learning. The new paradigm is the alternative assessment, authentic assessment, and informal assessment. The alternative assessment have problems associated with them. Those problems are anxiety of the testing. Children get anxious about the tasks that they have to deal with when doing a test. The language and cultural bias, that means that the background of the children have an important place in the testing, because some children maybe are not used to the kind of test that you have given to them, so they will probably have the knowledge but not the tools to deal with this test, and the personal circumstances that can those children have when they deal with the test. How can we assess children in a valid and reliable way? First of all, we have to describe an alternative assessment. There are a lot of different alternative assessments procedures, so we have to choose one of it. In order to devise it, we have to make some objections to it. We have to see the validity, the reliability, and the objectivity of that kind of the new assessment. And we have to discuss the power of this alternative assessment to provide the knowledge, the information, the data that we have to collect from the students. Garcia and Pearson give another names, another definition for those alternative assessments. They can be called as a performance assessment, portfolio assessment, situated or contextualized assessment, authentic assessment, informal assessment, and assessment by exhibition. This author, they think about this alternative assessment as a way to know how students approach the process and the way they do the task, the real life task in the school, in their assessments. The characteristics, the main characteristics of the new assessments are that they are not intrusive. You don't need an extra time to make this assessment. They are parallel of the day-to-day tasks that you are doing in the classroom. They reflect the curriculum. They provide information about the strengths and the weakness of each individual student. They are more reliable because you get some information for different resources. It's not like doing a test that you have the information for one test or several tests, but in these new assessments you can have the information from portfolio, from journals, for different sources. They are very appropriate with to the diverse people that study a second language, because there are a lot of different populations that they have a different backgrounds, and with this new assessment you can deal with this issue. There are a lot of different tools or instruments that can be used as alternative assessments: portfolio, conferences, classroom observation and inferences, protocol analysis, learning logs, journal entries, dialogue journal, teacher journal, video for role plays, audio tapes of discussion, questionnaires, interviews, checklists, anecdotal records, rating skills. and you can combine them in order to assess the students. As I said before, you have to make some objections to that kind of new assessments. They have to be, they have to have validity, reliability, and objectivity. That means that the tests have to measure that it is supposed to measure. Reliability, the consistency of the test. You have to wonder if the test of the assessment that you are going to use is consistent enough. And objectivity. You have to see if the tests have in count the background or not of the students. For example, we thought that the traditional assessments they were objective, but sometimes they are grading with a norm that is like some norm that a group of people have agreed to have. So they are not as objective as we really think they are. To make sure of this reliability, you have to see the background, you have to see the use of English, reading, writing, speaking, listening, and the ability to use the literacy behaviors. Children have to be able to make inferences about what they have read. Another author, Andrea Peña-Florida, says that the traditional assessments have some problems or have some issues. For example, they don't allow creativity. They are some kind of imprecise and unsystematic students' writing evaluation. Too much time. Sometimes teachers take too much time to give the feedback, or even sometimes there is no feedback from teachers to the students because of the obsession of the form, the obsession in the grammar. Sometimes there is no substance in the writings or in the skills or knowledge that the students are getting. There is no interaction among peers. The students, they don't really read, or they don't really see what their classmates are doing in the test or in their works, and the students lose the responsibility of their own work, because when the teacher gets all the papers and all the tests, they make a lot of corrections, and those corrections sometimes make the student lose the ownership of the paper of the test. There are some key terms that Andrea Peña-Florida want to use as a characteristics of the new assessments. They are non-traditional. They get information about the students' abilities, knowledge, understanding, attainments or attitudes, and students can identify their own strengths and weakness. This is a step for the learner autonomy, the self-sufficiency that the children have to get to be more involved in their own learning. There are some issues that the non-traditional alternative forms of assessment have to deal with, the philosophical issues. Those issues wonder if they are good enough to assess, to score the children. Public issues, because the parents, teachers, and educational people are not really prepared for the new assessments. Implementation issues. How to develop and implement that kind of alternative assessment. Another authors like Appleby and Langer speak about portfolio assessment. That is one kind of instruments that you can use like an alternative assessment. This portfolio could be a writing folder where you can put all the folders inside, a bound notebook with different sections that you can write different things inside, a loose leaf notebook, and you can combine as well a big envelope and folder, and you can put the folders inside the big envelope, and a notebook. Nowadays you can do it as well digital, by computer. These portfolios involve learners as active collaborators in documenting and monitoring their own progress and identifying learning goals. This portfolio have the students' writing output, all the works from the students from the beginning of the term to the end, not only the finished work, they can contain as well the unfinished projects. Advantages: the students have the responsibility of their learning. They are interactive because students will have the feedback from the teacher, and it's good to have the feedback from other classmates as well. You can assess this kind of portfolio with conference that we will see next. Some other advantages about portfolios are that they are holistic because they are related to the real life tasks, real life things that children develop nowadays, every day. They give that an evidence about what students are learning and what their achievements. If you have to show them to the parents or to other teachers, you can show the portfolio to them to show the knowledge of the children. You can use the language, meta-language, to talk about the language, and they are very collaborative, and you can share them, as I said before, with the rest of the students. In order to be scored, the number of the pieces have to be more or less limited, otherwise it's not flexible, that the teacher can correct it. As well as correct, you have to store somewhere, and you have to, this store have to be able for the children to get to correct, and if they want to put inside more things, or they want to make some corrections, they have to be able to get their portfolios. When to do a portfolio, they have to access to their portfolio at all times, whenever they want. Teachers should review and analyze the portfolio, and they have to give periodical feedback to the students. They have who can access other students, other teachers, parents, administrators from the educational places, schools. It's important to date every part of the portfolio and to write descriptions and comments. Otherwise, all the information you will have, you won't have the process or the development of the children. It's important that the portfolio is used in an actively and interactively way. That means that the classroom can read or can have the mates' portfolios, and your colleagues and other teachers can see all the portfolios of your children. This interactively, it's good for the children because it is good for the responsibility and the excitement for learning, because the children know that they are doing something for learning and to share the achievements that they are getting. As I said before, you have to make this portfolio interactive. You have to give the opportunity to the students to put the things that they decide inside the portfolios. You have to negotiate the portfolio with the students. You have to give them the criteria you use to assess and to score the portfolio. They can give you some ideas or their point of view. As I'm going to say, you have to use conference is a better way to review the portfolio, because it's a face-to-face conversation. I will show you. Always a teacher have to be positive, collaborative, and have to give a supportive attitude to the children. Students can have a self-reflection of the portfolio, and they can put inside this self-reflection inside the portfolio. This is good because it gives students the control to review their own working process. Conferences, as I said before, is the way you can use to evaluate the portfolios. You can do them individual or with several students, like a group, or to the whole class. They are very good because these kind of conferences help teachers to improve instructional planning. The way they plan the lessons could be improved because of these conferences. And conferences are good when you have children with different backgrounds, because you are going to assess them speaking instead of writing, so you will get more data and information. But on the other side, these conferences are for persons that have a good level in the language that you are going to use. If it is in English, the students require a good level of English to do the conference. The responses given shows teacher insights about the students' learning strategies and ideas for individualizing instruction or for modifying instructional plans. As I said before, the teacher can revise their own method of teaching. The questions, if you do this, the questions should be focused on the application of skills and knowledge taught in class, the difficulties that children have when doing schoolwork and how they solve those problems, and the process or strategies that they use in the performance of certain language-based tasks. It is important to conference as much regular as possible, and it's not really recommend to use this conference to grade students. It's good to get information, but not to grade. It's important as well to get the record of all the conference and portfolio in order to have the data and information to score. This record keeping can facilitate the planning of individualized instruction and the assessment of individual development. If you are going to grade the students, these kind of records are totally necessary. You you can use student anecdotal records or portfolio. The students can use the anecdotal records of the portfolio, reviews and conference. It is good for them in order to self-assessment. They can put the records inside the portfolio, and some notes can be taken from conference when you review the portfolio. This record keeping can be by teacher journals. The notes you take from the portfolios and conferences can be made by checklist. You have the instructional objectives, and you have to tick if the children do these instructional objectives. You have rating scales as well. You can use them. They reflect the instructional objectives, but you have a range and a scale. They are more precise, but they are less clear. Okay. This is another way of alternative assessment that is called protocol analysis. In this method, the students is asked to record every thought that comes to mind during the writing process. Is informal, is not fixed like other models that the traditional assessments use. This analysis reflects the process the students have while doing our task. At the beginning, the teacher can give a model to the student. The teacher can give a tape record model, or maybe he can do the procedure directly in the classroom. This is good for knowing which strategies children use when they generate ideas, and how often they revise their work, or if their writing skills have improved or not, or haven't. Another way of alternative assessment is they are the learning logs. Learning logs is like an structural journal. You can focus in some subject or in some way. They are not necessary to grade. You can speak, the students in those learning logs can speak about maths, about science, about, for example, some kind of practice. They are good to learn the second language in order to benefit from academic instruction in the second language. For example, if some child have to learn a language in order to live in a country, this kind of assessments are good for those kind of children to develop their second language knowledge. You can give some prompts to the students in order to make the learning logs. And the learning logs can be used by the students for self-assessment, to know what they are, what goals they are achieving. Another kind of alternative assessment is the journal entries. They are very, very informal. They are very enjoyable for children because they can choose the topic they are going to speak about. These kind of assessments give the students privacy, freedom to speak about whatever they want, and they are good to children to develop their writer skills. Those are good as well because they allow teachers to get to know their students. You can use a writing lab that is explained in the presentation. In this kind of journal entries, you can see the spontaneous of the students' writing. You can give ideas to the children to develop these writing activities, and children can have the idea of the development of the children to make some activities or to specify the difficulties that they are having. They are good because when they do the journal entries, they don't have pressure. The students, they don't have the pressure that they can have when they are asked to make some essay or some composition. They have to be used interactively. That means that they have to be shared with the mates. You can collect those journal using a rotation system. You have to read them in regular times, and you have to give some feedback to them because it's good to the students' motivation. It is good for the children to avoid, to the teacher, to avoid direct evaluative feedback. You have to be positive and you have to be collaborative, but you don't have to give negative evaluation or negative feedback. Another kind of journals are the dialogue journals. They are writing conversations between students and teachers. You have to choose the topic the children are interested in. It's a communication in writing. They exchange. You can exchange ideas with the children, and the children will exchange ideas with you. This kind of assessments increase students' involvement in the teaching learning process. You have to set them in regular times. You have to collect the journals, give feedback to the students, and at the beginning you will probably need to give them some kind of directions. It takes time to the students to get used to that kind of dialogue journal, so your teachers must be patient at the beginning. And you probably have to deal with ethical concerns because you will read about feelings and you are not, you have to be always sympathetic and supportive with this kind of students' feelings, and in case some law could be broken, you have to establish a policy in those cases. And of course, you have to keep record of that kind of dialogue journals to have the more important observation and insights about the students. This is the difference between dialogue journal and journal entries. This dialogue journal have terms in writing and responding, and journal entries they don't have terms. Students write in these kind of journals, and the teacher gives the comments